Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Weekly Rant. If you saw last week's show, you'd notice that there was plenty of technical errors. I did it all in one day, was throwing green screen, all these graphics. Like I said, I'm totally new to this stuff, had no idea what I was doing. Appreciate the comments, but I figured I'd scrap the green screen. This is just the bedroom curtain, simple, easy. It's all about the content anyway, right? So I hope you enjoyed this one a little bit better. After about 11 months, we finally heard from one of the weasels, Batar, who recently did an interview with PokerStrategy.com, basically saying a whole lot of nothing. You know, here's the thing. It's a good sign that they're actually speaking at this point, but this statement, if you will, had no meat in it or anything to it. This is the perfect statement that should have been released on May 1st, 2011. Instead, he did it 11 months later. Basically, in it, he says to the effect, well, sorry guys, I haven't had much to say because I wasn't really able to say anything, so I can't say anything now, and I didn't figure there was any point in saying anything. So why bother saying anything now? I don't get it. I just don't understand. If you're going to come up with a statement after 11 months, dun, 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 and you say nothing. Really? Who is your PR team? Seriously, they need to be fired. Your lawyers are idiots. You're going to go to jail most likely. And you know what? Not a tear will be shed for you. Not from me, anyways. In last week's show, we spent a lot of time dealing with the whole epic poker fail. Remember? Epic fail! It seems the more that I dig, the worse the news gets. There's charities that are listed as creditors on there. It doesn't seem like they've been paid anything. It doesn't seem like there's any money in the cupboard. Since I did that video blog, I've received some emails, and there was one in particular from somebody who's knowledgeable that I won't mention, but had a lot to say that I thought I'd share with you guys. So I'm going to have to, read it, because I don't want to screw it up. Haha, you like that, huh? Okay, so here it goes. It can be really boiled down to two options. Either Jeffrey Pollack is bad at his job, or Jeffrey was being less than sincere about his real objectives. I suppose a case can be made for both. So let's remember that Jeffrey, after being the commissioner of the World Series of Poker, was supposed to be an expert in poker, particularly the business side of poker. If anyone was supposed to have a good understanding of what was going to be realistic in terms of A, television.
It costs how much?
Where pretty much everyone has to pay expensive production and subsidize their programming with ad buys. And B, sponsorship, where it's proven to be extremely challenging. It was Jeffrey. So he should have known exactly what he was getting himself into, particularly when he announces the thing without any sponsors, no TV deal, oh yeah, and without the vision that, usually comes with an actual name. A lot of people in the poker community have been easy on Jeffrey. They liked him when he was at the World Series of Poker. Why? Well, he was very visible. He was always dressed up, shaking hands all the time, He was tweeting every 5 minutes about what he'd ate for dinner, video blogging, and really never met an interview that he didn't like. He would do them all day, basically. Some would say he spent a lot of time building the brand. The brand of Jeffrey Pollack. I mean, this guy, this is not part of the email, but this is a guy who wanted his name on the cards. That's a little extreme. But in the 2+ years since he's been gone, the World Series of Poker has been doing just fine. There's no more tent shaking in the wind. Now the entire convention area is dedicated to poker. There's no more 2-hour lines, and certainly no players are being held out of the main event. The World Series of Poker Europe, they made a popular move from their own property to improve it. Since Black Friday, they increased programming on ESPN, they recommitted to the circuit and totally revamped it with a $1 million free roll that they're actually going to hold. The truth is, he's been running a bluff on many in the poker industry for a long time. He was booted from the World Series of Poker, but saw a day when legalized online poker was coming and thought he could get his hands in the cookie jar at the absolute right time. He thought, throw together and create a brand and hope to hit a big score. Under this strategy, you just don't care about having a sustainable business plan.
Big or go home.
Because it's only going to work if the paradigm shifts. But you really have to be pretty bold to try this. I mean, you know you're going to burn through money.
What do you mean, insufficient funds?
You know you don't have capabilities. You don't own TV studios. You don't have software developers. You don't have a gaming license or a venue. You have a management team paying themselves a nice salary and a brand. But wait. You don't have a brand. For months and months, you think that all the top players in the world will come like sheep. Their personal brands will make you viable to get the kind of television and media coverage you need to make your brand something. Then, you'll cash out and not share a penny. So let's slap whatever name first comes to mind on this thing. Epic. Because that's what this whole con is going to be. Riding the players and burning through our investors' money until a time when we can sell out and get paid. Epic. But unfortunately for Pollack, the timing didn't break right. There was no bill attached to the payroll tax extension. It doesn't look like online wagers at state or federal level are coming for a good bit of time. So now people, good and innocent people, are getting hurt. people that drank your Kool-Aid, people that came to work for you, your TV production company that you wouldn't pay up front. You have a suspicious list of creditors that includes charities that apparently have not been paid. But you still list yourself as a creditor. Ballsy. That you should be getting paid for such leadership. And you continue to be defiant, saying this is reorganization and not the end. Reorganization that allows you to walk away from the promise you made, trim all the fat, and hopefully still find a sucker to acquire you such that you can still find a payday. Jeffrey Pollack, politician, snake oil salesman. You've failed to keep your promise to the players, you've burned through investors' money at breakneck speed, you've tarnished an extremely successful brand and company in the Heartland Poker Tour, and you've taken people's money that charitable organizations were thankful for, but they still haven't seen a check. You found maybe the one person in poker, as shady as you, to go along with the plan, Miss Annie Duke. You knew she had no problem lying for you. You look at her track record, she's been doing it her whole life. It's a match made in heaven. Congrats. On a lighter, more positive note, I came back from the Bay 101 recently, which is a tournament that I always try to make. They've got a lot of history. Marco Trapani, God rest his soul, passed away, but his legacy lives on with his son, who's continued the trend of treating the players with the utmost respect. I mean, no other place gives us what they've given us, and the truth is they don't have to do it. You know, flying us out on private planes, you know, we have this whole bounty system, which I think is a lot of fun for the locals, and it's just an event that I think the players as a whole should feel honored to be a part of. I am included in that group. What's also really interesting about the Bay 101 specifically is I really like staying at the Staybridge Suites. It's right next door. It's got an apartment vibe. You know, you've got a full kitchen, you've got a microwave, a stove, you know. It's like very, very homey. And it comes off like a dorm room because mostly all the poker players end up staying there. So, you know, at the end of a day one or a day two, someone's having a party, whether it's Jonathan Duhamel doing beer pong or, you know, everyone's sitting out in the courtyard. There's always something to do. And while I was there one night, a prop bet broke out. Shocker, right? Somehow the idea to have a drinking contest, Vanessa Selps versus Yevgeny Timoshenko, chugging one beer. Rules are simple. Which side do you like? Let's take a look.
Ready, set, go!
Vanessa, don't do it.
You got this, girl. You got it, girl. You got it.
Can I buy out?
As you can see, not much of a battle. Vanessa's way done. There was a little bit of controversy concerning whether or not she wore most of the beer or actually got it down. But as you can see, Yevgeny's still going. He's drawn pretty dead. I had to do a voiceover here because I don't know if all this audio is suitable for YouTube. Everyone wasn't too happy about the result, but I was. Yeah, no contest, as you can see. Vanessa absolutely owned Yevgeny. I later owned Yevgeny in a little bit of air hockey. It seemed like Yevgeny got owned pretty hard that night by everybody. But it was an absolute blast and a good group of people. It was really a good, fun group to hang out with, and I had an absolute blast. And, you know, when you get a bunch of gamblers together, that's what's going to happen, prop betting. Which is a good segue into something else that I touched on that I said that I would talk about last week. Since I did my video blog, Phil Galfond took to his written blog, and I thought he was on point. All the points that he made I thought were absolutely excellent. He made a case for the idea of why we borrow and loan a lot of time. You know, sometimes you're in a different city, you don't have enough money, you go broke in a really juicy game. And so anyway, I think it's important that you read that blog, and the link you should be able to find right down there somewhere. Phil Galfond, always on point for the most part. I can't remember the last time I've ever disagreed with him. And I think one of the reasons that he gets it is because he takes into account the established world that's been around for a long time and can connect the two. And there is an old world and a new world, old school versus new school. There's a lot of differences in the way that we think about things. Specifically with an issue like borrowing and loaning, how you put somebody on blast. In the old days, it was kind of one of those things. If somebody's broke or, you know, they haven't paid a debt, everyone knows. It's a small community. Today, the majority of players who come up in this game, their community is very different. They come from the online world. So their community is the internet. So the internet forums are abuzz, you know, with this discussion. I've been a part of this gambling world for about 20 years now. God, that sounds awful. It's 20 years. And in that time, never have I ever called somebody out for being broke, for borrowing or loaning money, for, you know, things on a personal level, absolutely. Like, if I know of a guy who's a deadbeat and someone asks me, you know, hey, you know, you want to loan this guy money? You know, I'll let him know. No, definitely don't. He owes a bunch. So, again, in Phil Galfond's blog, he echoes the sentiment that one of the ways to avoid getting yourself stuck in one of those situations is to ask around. I mean, I'm owed millions of dollars personally from a lot of different people, and I'm not going to put them on blast. There's a difference between two types of people. You have some who have absolutely no intention of paying you. They borrow or they gamble with you, and they're just never going to pay. There's others who get themselves into bad spots. In fact, recently I was at Bay 101, and I ran into a guy who owes me a very substantial amount of money. I know he doesn't have the money. I know he has enough money to keep himself in action for now, and I'm not about to say, hey, give me the last $1,500 you have in your pocket. I don't feel like there's a lot of hope in getting paid back. I don't feel it's a case where he is choosing not to pay me back. He doesn't have the money. So it's not that I give the guy a break, but I'm not going to put him on blast. I just don't see any purpose. It's not going to get me paid back any faster. It's going to make his life even more difficult. And, some may say, sure, he deserves it. He lost money to you and didn't pay you, and you loaned him money, you helped the guy out, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, I get that. I've got a little bit of a soft spot when it comes to things like that. There are a few families of friends that I take care of because things went bad for them, and I root for them to make a comeback. And that's just a little more of an old school thinking. I know that, new school is a little more like, I've dealt with some guys, and, I lose $1,500 to them, and it's like a silly bet or $1,000. Like, you can send it on PayPal. I'm like, I'm going to see you on Thursday. You could just wait till then. How much interest are you going to collect on this? Seriously. Also in Galfond's blog, he mentions the difference between the idea that, you're loaning someone money that they have it, they just don't have it with them, or others that just don't have it at all. And I can tell you a story about a guy who, he's known as one of the best poker players in the world today. Long time ago, there was a point where I won a tournament. I had maybe $40,000 to my name, and I had it all in my box because where else would I put it? And, he asked me to borrow $20,000 because he needed it. And he flat out told me, he's like, listen, I don't have it, but, just so you know, but I'll try to get it to you when I can. And he was a friend, and he worked really, really hard. He spent a month working his butt off and, paid me back, had his own bankroll really quickly. And, he went on to just become a monster. Whenever you borrow and loan with people, you should just make the stipulations very, very clear. Is this a loan that's long-term? Is this a loan that I'm going to get real soon? And if you don't trust this person, then just don't do business with them. Or if you're not sure, again, take Galfond's advice, my advice, and anyone else, and ask around. I just don't see the need. I've never seen the need, and like I said, I've never put anyone on blast. I got people in the poker world that I can't stand, and they owe millions of dollars, right? And it would be fun to put them on blast. I think it's just mean. It's like, I can be mean when I don't like people, but there's a level of like meanness that I just don't feel is like productive. I think tearing those people down in the public's eye doesn't serve us any good. So, in the thread of the internet thread that was a buzz, I went to detail about the situation and how I felt about it. There's been previous situations where people have owed money that I never addressed. I just never ever have called people out for stuff like this. It's been around our industry for a very long time. It's never going to go away. Some people are going to like bite off more than they can chew and make mistakes. And whether they make a comeback or whether people are willing to give them a chance is usually dependent on how likable they are and how likely do you believe that person is legitimate in terms of saying that they're going to pay you back. The way it's always been done is man to man. If you owe me money and I owe you money, let's talk it out. What's your plan? Do you have a game plan? Are we gonna, you're gonna start playing small? Are you gonna like? And the other thing too that people have to understand is I've played in poker games where a guy owes me $20,000 and he's sitting there with $27,000. But I know he's got a family. I know he's got kids to feed, and I know that's his whole bankroll problem maybe on the table. So I'm not gonna take it because that's his tools, right? So I could because he owes me the money, and it wouldn't be wrong. But the truth is, like, as long as he's making good as he can. So for example, if the guy gets his bankroll up to $100,000, he feeds me 10. He feeds me 5 here and there. As long as there's progress being made and there's like an effort to pay, I don't feel like I need to cut somebody's off and just destroy them like that. So again, different mentality, a little more old school. It's funny because I feel like old school's a little less cutthroat, and you'd think old school Vegas, I'm gonna bury you, but it's like the new school guys who kind of want to barbecue you a little bit more for stuff like that. And again, just two different schools of thought. If there's a guy who's just scamming people, making bets with them and welching and absolutely not paying, absolutely blast away. If this guy says, you know what, I owe this money, I ain't just not going to pay you. I feel comfortable blasting away. The other type of person who made mistakes, has every intention to pay back, maybe can't, I have a soft spot for them because I've been in those shoes when I've been broke, and I know a lot of people have. I mean, poker world wasn't as easy as it is now in the sense that, if you were short on money, you could just play smaller online and, multi-table. Back then, it's like, if you wanted to pay your bills and those kind of things, you needed a certain amount of money to just stay afloat to do that. And yes, it's a little more degen. Yes, it's a little more, I won't use the word romantic because it doesn't sound romantic. But yeah, just a little bit more chaotic. And like I said, the younger generation come from a more sophisticated background in terms of even the way they learn how to play the game, the way they understand bankroll management, things like that. So the poker world's headed in a good place. I just think it's important to have some understanding of where the world was a long time ago and some of the changes and how you fit into it. Well, I spent a lot of time with this weekly rant talking about some of the bad apples in poker, and I think we all do that to a certain degree. And I think it's important to give some recognition to those people that, you know, are the good guys in poker. And one of them I recently spent some time with at the WPT Foundation event was Adam Pliska. The event essentially raised money for 4 different charities. You can check out WPTFoundation.org. There's 4 charities there. I went to the event. It was well attended. Raised a lot of money for all those different charities. Jose Andre, who's the best chef in the world. Even for me, I mean, he made me some stuff, vegan stuff. It was, woo, crazy good. To support 4 charities. If you'd like to know more about those 4, I did myself. You can check the beneficiaries, WPTFoundation.org/beneficiaries. You'll find it. Go to the site, okay? So yeah, anyway, I ran into Adam Pliska, who, if you've noticed, he's the president of the WPT, and has a striking resemblance to the actual president. I found him to be a really great guy, one of the good guys in poker, wants to do the right thing. And so I spent a good deal of time talking to him about, you know, ways in which poker can help with a lot of causes, especially, you know, with the Coney 2012 push, which I thought was great. You know, we raised money for the Enough Project, which is doing some things along those lines. Before I actually ran into Adam, later in the suite where we were playing a little fun poker game, we decided, you know, a bunch of us were going to go have some fun. We went to the Belmont, which is a little karaoke joint around the corner. I was with some friends, and we were meeting some other friends. And I didn't exactly know who we were meeting, so I get there, and there's this girl right up front. She says, "Hey, Daniel! Oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever." And I'm like, "Hey, how have you been?" No idea. So she's being kind of flirty. And again, I just assume she's with the people that we're meeting. So now all of a sudden I'm sitting at a table between her and her friend sandwiched in a booth. And she gets a little too close. One of her hands reached a little, whoa! Then she says, "I need to tell you something in my ear." And she did a little, and a little like this. And I was like, woo! So slow it down. So I had to escape. I tried to say, I didn't have to pee, but I said I was going to go pee. And then after that, I was hanging out with friends, and she kind of was drunk. And she mentioned that she'd had some troubles and whatever with a divorce or whatever. So I have nothing against the girl. She seems like a nice enough girl, but she was kind of like being a burden, if you will, on all my friends and people I was with. So I was asked, you know, do you want her to leave? And I was like, yeah, it wouldn't be so bad. So security comes by, looks at me, and says, you know, do you want her to go? And I'm like, why are you putting me on the spot? So I was kind of like, you want her to leave? So, yeah, yes. I think she saw that, and I was looking away, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, whoosh!
Be real calm. Be real calm. Real calm.
Voulez vous épouser ne valait vraiment pas le coup.
Just ice hits my face all the way down. I traveled with no change of clothes, so the rest of the night I basically was like soaked. Luckily, I think it was vodka, so nothing bad. That's the second time a drink's been thrown on me in the last couple months, and I feel like there's times where maybe I've deserved having a drink thrown in my face, but neither of those two was one of them. One time, I was in the middle. Somebody was trying to throw a drink on somebody else, and I just kind of, it's one of those things. You're like, really? Did that just happen? Anyway, I wish her the best. I've, you know, no hard feelings. Like, you know, next time I see you, please don't throw another drink in my face, I guess. You may have noticed throughout the blog a few guest appearances by Kristy Arnett, who is Snaptress on YouTube. I got those little clips from her latest video, which is bleep whatever things people say, stuff, can I say? I don't know, I shouldn't be cursing, I just feel like I should. Stuff people say in Las Vegas. And I thought it was really good, and a lot of her videos are, and I feel like it's important to give her some support. Here's a little clip from her latest video.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Stays in Vegas.
So come on, Poker World, give her some support, subscribe to her channel. She's really working hard on these things, and they look fantastic. She's one of the good girls in poker, so subscribe to her channel, take a look. If it's not your cup of tea, fine, but I think a lot of you guys are going to like it and think it's pretty funny, and I think they're only going to get better and better. She's like a kindred spirit here. You know, I'm trying to do this thing, and she's doing it. I root for her. I hope that she becomes a YouTube star or something like that. Anyway, that's all I got for you this week. If you liked it, click the like button, subscribe. I'm going to be doing this every week, I think. Trying to simplify it a little bit. No more green screen. I was a little too crazy. Share it with your friends on Twitter, Facebook, the whole deal. And I'm going to leave you with a little montage of picks. Just random picks that I saw throughout the week that I thought were kind of funny. Hope you do too. Till next week.
genuine.